Honey, so you can see what's going on. What's going on? Hey, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. Woo.
All right, welcome to What's Happening Now on KBLKradio.com, and thank you for tuning in. This is your host, Bishop Bowden. We have an exciting show for you today, and everyone should be listening. So right now, I want you to call or text 7 people and encourage them to tune into this show on KBLKradio.com. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this morning, we have a great, awesome, and exciting show for you. We have with us today Duncan, also known as Tiny Dude, one of the founding members of Justice for SB 33, and he is also the parent of the student Yancey Duncan, who was tased and placed in juvenile hall. And we also have with us a student from Abraham Lincoln High School, not Lincoln Park High School, but Abraham Lincoln High School, and her name is Alicia Yancey. She's in the 12th grade. We're going to hear from her also. She was there and she witnessed the tasing. She witnessed from start to finish. So we're going to hear from her also. So today's topic is reframing the narrative, moving from youth violence to youth that has been affected by violence. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So when we talk about the dominant narratives, there are stories told by the dominant culture. And so, white dominant supremacy and so on. They define our reality and guide our lives like an invisible hand. And so a lot of times, when you listen to the media, even sometimes music and various things like that, they're the ones that tell the stories. And that's what is implanted in your mind. So when you hear stories like on the news about what happened at Lincoln High School, like, oh, it was a mob and Lincoln Park, they want to tie everything into a negative story when there's so many positive things that are happening in our community and that is happening at Lincoln High School. And so we want to delve into that and deal with that. And so one of the things we know is that when you talk about the dominant culture and deal with the dominant nature, the dominant narrative, the dominant culture is oppressive, can be oppressive. So too are its narratives. And I want to talk about cultural representations. Cultural representations refer to popular stereotypes, images, frames, and narratives that are socialized and reinforced by media, language, and other forms of mass communication and common sense. Cultural representation can be positive or negative, but from the perspective of the dismantling structural racism analysis, too often cultural representations depict people of color in ways that are dehumanizing, that perpetuate inaccurate stereotypes, and have the overall effect of allowing unfair treatment within society as a whole, and they make this seem fair or natural. Our youth don't have the same privileges, opportunities, and advantages white kids have. As Alice said, right now we are asking kids that live in the most disadvantaged neighborhoods, who have families with the least amount of resources, who are attending the country's worst schools, who are facing the worst crime in labor market. We're asking these kids to walk the thinnest possible line, to basically never do anything wrong. She goes on to say, why aren't we offering support to young kids facing these challenges? Why are we only offering handcuffs and jail time? And that's the end of the quote. Instead of punishment, we need to move to prevention, intervention, and recovery. I have a problem with a school system that allowed this young man, Jesse Duncan, to be tased twice, interrogated without a lawyer or a parent present, and then taken from the hospital to juvenile hall. And the only thing school officials say is pray for him. We want Jesse Brandon released from juvenile hall immediately. However, no matter how much restorative justice you offer Jesse Brandon, he can never be restored or made whole. He will carry this trauma with him for the rest of his life. So then, we don't want other kids to be damaged in the same way. We want policies and systems to change, and not just sound bites of equality. We do not want incidents like this to ever happen again. This includes incarcerating our children. We must change policy. Policy defines the structures and the rules by which we live.
Last year when I was incarcerated on charges that, I had nothing to do with. We ran into a little problem where he didn't understand how to live without being in the home every day. So he kind of stopped going to school and was just, kind of out there just doing what he wanted to do. As soon as I came home, Jesse got his grades right back up, got right back on track. Now he's a 3.0 student, football player, just like I said, a great kid to be around every day. And so, this situation that took place is a real unfortunate situation for him because he had just started, he was supposed to start track practice that very same day that took place here.
So he runs track and he plays football?
He runs track and he plays football.
And so rather than just trying to get someone who is not probably still traumatized to answer some questions that might help you to place that person in juvenile hall or jail or whatever, and so on. So, we call for better community policing. We don't want to see these type of things happen anymore where our children are questioned and we're not there. Right. We want to be present when we're telling you straight up, we don't care what the laws say. We're telling you what we want in our community. Right. And how we want things to be done. If you want to build a good relationship, because this hurts our community. Right. And if we're going to all be a part of the process and solve problems and prevent further problems from happening, then we got to work together. And this is not working together. You can't do what you want to do and then the next moment say, let's work together, let's push for peace and all that. Yeah, if there's no justice, there is no peace. As simple as that. Yeah. And so, of course, we don't want violence and things like that, but we most definitely will shake the system until you give us our respect that is due to us. Right. And that is for sure. Right. So, Mr. Duncan, are you concerned that the DA may try to throw the book at your son? Try to look in crime can because of what happened?
Most definitely. That's all I can think about the DA. I don't think, the DA has anything good in store for, people of, color and people out of the Southeast community. Mm-hmm. My child was on campus to learn and to be a child, and right. He wanted to socialize, but yet he was treated like a hardened criminal. You are on campus to be, a cop to make sure that things are going smoothly. You're not on campus to treat these children as if they're criminals, right? And if that's the mind state you have, and like I said, I feel like then you need to be on the streets really looking for criminals. You don't need to be at or around these kids. Right. These kids are at school to learn. They're not at school to learn how to be prisoners, you know what I'm saying, of any type of institution. They're trying to go to college. Like I said, my son has a plan and he's executing it. You know what I'm saying? I have no problem with anything he does because he's doing everything how I asked him to do it. And so when he's, tased on the ground like he's just, shot at somebody or something like that or committed some type of crime and my son is treated this way, I feel like, no crime was committed and you have 1,000 people saying the same exact thing. So now that my child is sitting in jail, like he committed some sort of crime. My child was provoked. My child was provoked into acting the way he acted. You know what I mean? Like this police officer, like I say, he needs to be the one sitting in jail. Right. Like you have a child on the floor and you're tasing him, and it's like I said, my son, his arms up, laid out on the thing, and you can see my child's hand shaking uncontrollably because this officer is continuously tasing him. Yes. But my child is in jail right now, and this man is, somewhere being, praised for his actions. Yeah, exactly. Which is crazy. Yeah, absolutely. So, Alicia, in dealing with this incident and so on, what do you guys want in regards to what are you asking the school for?
I guess mainly what you can say that we're asking the school and really our community for is just that support, to just be there for us and just to kind of support us and help guide us through this process, because that's the main thing. Monday is, from what I hear, is going to be a modified kind of day where
the school is doing that.
That they're going to try to address the trauma that students are facing, or just really try to get to the deep roots of this issue, because you can't bring a whole bunch of students in the theater and just talk to us. You can't hear their opinions, versus with the restorative circles that I do believe are going to be going on Monday. Right. Then that's where all the opinions and things like that can be taken into account.
Right. So when we talk about because you mentioned restorative justice, what did you all have some type of restorative justice classes going on at your school?
Well, through the criminal justice program that's there, Ms. Williams has tried to bring in different things. So, like teen court, which is a diversion program, versus going to jail. You can go through there and be judged by a committee of your peers, basically.
I heard about that. Yeah.
And they'll tell you maybe do community service, write an apology letter, just things of that nature. So that's part of that restorative justice and restorative circles and things like that. It's the whole process is okay, now that there has been harm committed, what can you do to repair that harm?
Right,
so going through that whole process and things like that. So that's what restorative justice and restorative practices are.
So you familiarized with this a little bit?
Yes, sir.
So when you look at Jesse's situation here, what do you think should be done?
I think number one, that Jesse should be released from where he is because he doesn't deserve to be there. And as far as the restorative justice route is definitely where he should be going through right now, because it wasn't like he on a daily basis got in trouble or anything like that at school. He's a good kid, he's a good student. So it's just going through that process and trying to address that harm that was there, because he was wrong, then the students were wrong, because the students felt what he felt, in a sense. Not necessarily they went through the same thing, but they were there, they witnessed it. So that's trauma on all sides and things like that. So that just needs to be addressed. Right.
Now, when we look at students and as we were talking earlier about the fear, that some students have, as far as, people of color also, with their encounters with law enforcement, and even conducting yourself a certain way at school, you got to kind of being you can't really be a student, or you can't really just be a child, a youth that's just going to school to have fun. Because if you do, something like what happened on Friday goes wrong, then next you're either shot or dead or locked up for something. And we know that nationally, as we was talking earlier, Trayvon Martin and some of the other incidents that took in Ferguson and Baltimore, incidents that took place in these various cities and so on. We know that our youth would go to school with or just in general in the community live with fear and so on. What would you say that law enforcement and that the schools can do to make you all feel safer?
I think as far as feeling safer, just knowing that you have someone there that has training, who has dealt with kids before, that kind of thing, that can be pretty mal-tempered. Lincoln High School isn't, and our students, they're not like the other students. We have a bunch of good students and things like that. Don't get me wrong. But you have to have someone who's going to be there, if you do have a person there that's trained to deal with those kinds of attitudes and strong personalities. Because a lot of the students do have those strong personalities and opinions and aren't going to be afraid to share them with you. So you just have to be trained and just, I guess, mentally tough as well as physically, because it really is all about being mentally tough. Because you can have one of our favorite security guards to have on campus at all times is Mimi. She can get a situation under control in a second. She's short, don't get me wrong, but one of the first things that she loves telling kids is that I'm right here and you're right there. You need to come back down to my level, because I'm not going to chase you and I'm not going to be yelling at you. So it's getting them down to that level where they'll have a conversation with you. Having people that's able to deal with students like that.
Now, Abdi, the officer that tased Jesse, I know I've been hearing some things in regards to being some past incidents that took place. Are you aware of any of those incidents?
Well, there were a couple of instances where, what happened on Friday wasn't the first time that any kid had ever been pepper sprayed that came from Lincoln and things like that. Not all of his experience with the kids have been bad, but those ones that were bad, they are they were pretty big as far as its impact on the students and things like that. And so when students, when we see that and we don't get any healing, or we don't really feel like an issue was addressed, and that's where a lot of it just boiled over.
And so are you saying that there were some complaints before about Abdi?
I'm not sure if they were actually filed, but there were things that did happen. Some students were pepper sprayed and
before.
before, like one kid was pepper sprayed on the football field or something like that, as well as there was a group of kids that were kind of, I guess you could say, fighting each other or something like that. That was happening over near the fire station where they went, and a lot of kids got pepper sprayed then as well. So it's just an issue, I feel, training, like having someone there with a proper training that doesn't immediately go for, like, you know, that kind of thing. I don't know if it's protocol or not, but as we're students and like minors, I don't think that that kind of thing should ever get to that point.
Exactly. And you know, the officers should be trained to de-escalate a situation, not escalate it, not cause things to get worse, and because aggression causes aggression.
Exactly.
You know, so if you're going to de-escalate a situation, get in a situation, intervene, you know, you got to come, like you said, Mimi. You know, she look at him like, hey, these are my kids. You know,
Definitely. She talk to you like you want her kids too. She lets you know, as soon as you step on this campus, you're mine. After that, I release you to your parents. You're their problem.
Right.
That's pretty much how that goes.
Right.
Like,
Right.
She shows respect to the kids respect her. Like, you gotta come at them with respect. You gotta get respect in order to get it. It's not something that you can just demand.
Right. Exactly. And you know, and that's the thing that, you know, when we talk about these kind of incidents, and especially tied into community policing or school policing, whatever you want to call it, but we talk about community policing because we're trying to move law enforcement from the perspective of just responding to 911 in crisis mode situations and getting into building relationships with the community, getting into the situation where let's solve the problem. So like what this is, if there's slap boxing and so on, let's come into the situation, let's look and see what's the problem here, you know, and how can we fix it? You know, let's solve this problem rather than you come here, you know, and start slamming and hitting people and tasing them and so on, because that's not going to fix the problem. And as we see now, we have a whole lot more problems. You know, we have a young man that's locked up. We have students that's been traumatized, a school that's been traumatized, parents that's been traumatized. And now, you know, you have a little situation where, you know, there might be a little uproar, you know, until, you know, they fix this situation. So all we're calling for is to fix the problem. You know, let's get back to working together and solving our problems and so on. And, you know, and we all, I'm you know, I've been trained and been through a lot of the anger managements and all those type of things. And, you know, being a pastor, understanding self-control. But there's times I get angry and might lose my cool a little bit. Aren't we allowed to be human?
Exactly.
And, you know, I mean, we all get a little off a little bit. You know, sometimes, okay, go over there, sit down, cool it, calm down, you know, rather than come here, blah, blah. So we got to learn, like you said, got to have that training and learn how to get in there and de-escalate a situation versus create more problems than what we need and so on. So Mr. Duncan, when does your son go to court?
He goes to court on Wednesday.
On Wednesday?
Wednesday, yeah. I believe, what is that, the 2nd or the 3rd?
Wednesday,
3rd?
2029. I think it's like 2nd.
The 2nd?
Yeah,
Wednesday, yeah.
I know today's 28th, tomorrow's 29th.
Yeah, Wednesday, so I'm just waiting for a call from the probation department, yeah. So, and they'll call me and let me know what time to be there and all that,
So you're dealing with probation now?
Yeah, well, I guess that's how they work. They work with probation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, probation calls you when they set the time and they go through the, you know, the list and fill out, like, whether he should be released or, you know, remain in custody and all that.
Right.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so what are the charges?
Resisting arrest and then assault on a peace officer and using deadly force or something like that.
So I guess what we need to know is, you know, resisting arrest. What was he being arrested for?
My point exactly. It says,
I mean, he was going somewhere to calm down.
Said the law,
you know, what was the arrest
and
for?
the law says you have the right to resist an unlawful arrest. So if I'm just walking to class, why are you arresting me?
Right.
What am I being arrested for? Why are you telling me to stop? What did I do?
Exactly.
You know, because like I said, it was other faculty members that seen my child and said he was not doing anything. It was countless witnesses said my child wasn't doing anything but removing himself out of that situation. Like, and again, a playful situation. It wasn't like, you know, it was people were really fighting. You know, Jesse had got slapped a little too hard and he said, okay,
let me go calm down.
I'm out of here before I go somewhere else, which I tell him to do.
Right.
I'm out of here.
Following the rules.
They're following the rules. Exactly. You know? So he got out of there, and, you know, for doing what was right, he's in juvenile hall.
Man, that's wow.
Right.
You know, we most definitely. So you know, we most definitely. I think prayer is important, but you know, just to pray, we got to do more than that. We got to move to action. We call for the school. What school? And see, here's the other problem that we have in our communities is that when law enforcement makes a move and arrest someone, and then we look into it and we realize, hey, that was wrong. Mm-hmm. Can't you reverse this? Oh, it's not in our hands anymore. Right. It's now it's in the court system.
It's in the court system.
In the system now. Now the system has to deal with it. Right. So we're hoping that the DA office will look at this case. Mm-hmm. When we had a meeting on Friday, there was a DA that was in there. Okay. But he hadn't looked at the case yet. Okay. And so, because one of the things that I had asked for in the meeting is that he, be released. He should have been incarcerated. That's. This is not fixed until that part is fixed. Right. And then we can start working on all the rest of the issues and getting to preventing these type of incidents from happening again. Right. But we can't even begin the healing process until we fix that part. And so they do have to look at it, but we're hoping that once they look at the case, that they release them. Mm-hmm. I feel like they have the authority. They can do that today. They can do that tomorrow. Keeping them to Wednesday. I mean, that's, I think, a part of a racist system that we're dealing with. With our children. Then, like you said, I heard you ask, about bail and things like that. There's no bail in juvenile home. Mm-hmm. So once you're in that system, you're in their hands. And so it's up to them to decide whether or not you stay or whether or not you go. Right. And so on. I remember when I came up, and of course I was a gang member, so I got in a lot of trouble, and I deserved what I got. Mm-hmm. But there's many times I was, and I know they changed laws now, but when I went to juvenile hall, sometimes they release me on my own. Exactly. I go to juvenile hall and they say, okay, you can go home. Right. The next day or 2 days, 3 days later, whatever it was, they would let you go home and on your own, and they would release you a lot. The system has moved towards a more racist system, a system that wants to oppress. Yeah. And first of all, you lock up too many of people of color, and then secondly, when you lock them up, you set up a system where they won't get out. Right. You're stuck in there. Yeah. There's nothing you can do until the judge or that judge has an ultimate call and said, okay, you can go home. Right. Regardless of what the DA or the probation recommend, the judge is the one that makes that final call in that system. Yeah. And so, back when we were coming up in the 70s, the system was a little bit different in the sense that they would let you go home. They would release you. And so when I see how the system works now, it's all a part of that mass incarceration type thing.
For financial gain.
Yeah.
And so, at all.
Say that again?
No rehabilitation at all.
Exactly. No rehabilitation at all. No recovery, no prevention, no intervention in the sense of let's intervene, let's do something about this and so on. I mean, here you got a responsible parent, a parent that is there at the hospital to follow the juvenile hall. I mean, who's that? I mean, the system is so blind, couldn't even see that. Couldn't even see it from the perspective that
right, I'm here.
Let's release this child to his dad.
Right.
His dad's right here. He's gonna be okay. Right. And so the system is set up against us, and that's why I say we need policy change. We got to change these rules and so on, because who's affected most? Our communities. And when you look at people of color and Southeast and City Heights, especially in Southeast San Diego, 50% of the community lives in poverty. 50%. And so even if there was a bail system, you probably had money, but a lot of folks don't even have the money to, even going into county jail and so on. People have to stay there. Even in county jail, we used to be able to get out on OR, get that little slip, and they let you go, for a whole lot of stuff, And today, the moment you go in there they'll keep you in there for a misdemeanor. Yeah. Bail out or you ain't getting out. And so the system is rigged against us, and we most definitely have to come together to change that system. And so I heard that. So you mentioned something about something happening on Monday, Alicia.
Yes. So on Monday, pretty much us seniors and other younger classmen, we've been talking together like on Facebook and stuff like that through different outlets and social media. Like we see the adults in our lives and we see they're expressing themselves, and we're just trying to figure out how to express ourselves without causing more of a mess or without just causing more problems than
Right.
necessary. So basically on Monday, like one of the things we've all decided to do is like wear our school colors and like, you know, basically talk to each other and to talk to the younger classmen and try to get everyone to like a somewhat of a calm level or at least to that point where they're able to express themselves vocally without like, you know, causing fights or anything like that amongst ourselves. So it's just all about coming together, like, you know, solidarity and just talking to each other and trying to figure out where we're going to go from there. Like coming up with solutions or things that we can do to help Jesse. So like some of the students writing statements and things like that, they'll go to Jesse's father to help him out. So it's just things like that. We're just trying to do our part, but we're also trying to make sure that we're not causing more problems for him or anyone else who's been affected by what happened on Friday. So coming together and just trying to support each other is what Monday is definitely
Absolutely. And we're most definitely anything that we can do, you know, as adults and being a part of the community, we most definitely want to support you all. And you know, I think it's good that you guys want to speak out, you know, and whether it's a silent speak out or whatever, send a message, because we do need our young people. You know, you're the future, and you're the next generation, and we have some bright, smart, intelligent young people in our communities, you know, and we just need to give you room to use that. Okay, Mr. Duncan.
Yes, sir.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
You know, to the you know, to the youth, the black boys out there, you know, young men, you know, you gotta just comply. You know, these police roll up on you and you see them, just comply. Let them finish their investigation there, whatever they want to call it. Just do what they ask you to do. You know, because these it's obvious to, you know, what's going on around the world that these people will kill you. So, you know, that's my thing. And, you know, justice for Jesse. That's it.
Yes, justice for Jesse. And we, you know, I'm really, you know, I really believe that, you know, no matter what the odds are, no matter what the system says, you know, we have a voice.
Right.
And when we make that voice heard, we can change things. And
definitely.
So, you know, we have to organize and move to action.
Right.
We have to already be organized, so when things like this happen, we can move to action.
Right.
And trust me, we are organized. Don't think we aren't. And we can move to action.
Yes, we
and
can.
we want to give the system a chance to work, but right now it's working against us.
Right.
You know, as I said, I reiterated, you know, Jesse should be at home with his dad. He shouldn't be sitting in some cell, locked up and already traumatized, and got to wait till Wednesday to go to court, and you never know what will happen even on Wednesday. So we most definitely call on the DA's office to look at this case and move quickly. We call on probation. If probation has a say, or the detention officer or whoever else is involved in this, you need to look at this case and make a decision and release this young man. I don't even know why the detention officer didn't just, you know, look at this case and release him to you on Friday. All right. And so we most definitely thank all our listeners for tuning in. We really appreciate you. And this is not over. And this is not it. And we're going to continue to fight. And remember that we're fighting against a system. And we got to change policies. And unless you get involved, unless we come together, our children are going to continue to be treated like this. We don't want to wait until a young man is killed before we're rallying and protesting. But we need to come together now and make a difference. So thank you, Alicia, Yancey, and thank you, Mr. Duncan, Brandon Duncan, for coming on the show. And we always have you on, you know, we're going to have you get like a regular on
That's
here.
right. Thank you for having me again.
And we want to thank all our listeners for tuning in. And we want you to tune in next week for another great show on What's Happening Now on KBLKradio.com. And remember, come by and visit Charity Apostolic Church at 610 South 30th Street, San Diego 92113. We have services on Saturday at 11:30. So come on by and check us out. All right. Thank you for tuning in. And we hope you'll tune back in next week. All right. God bless you and have a great day.